Live.
Hello, it's Deanne Munoz with my special guest, Playmate Starlet. Yes, I had to throw Playmate in because she's that sexy Reiki master. I'm loving every facet of this beautiful soul in front of me. We are in season 1, episode 3. We're episode 3 already.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so today's topic is healing triggers, healing your emotional triggers. And this is a phenomenal topic that I wish there was like a hell of people right now. I want to tag in this. And I like to throw my baby daddy under the bus all the time because it's just fun, me and him do this. So I would tag him in this, especially right now. No, just kidding. Okay, that's just a fun joke. I love that joke. You know, comedians always have jokes and it always includes exes or their husbands or their kids at the moment. Like all my jokes are forever going to include my ex-husband, Johnny.
Always, yeah. Johnny's forever.
Because he's my biggest trigger.
Speaking of triggers.
Let's talk about triggers. Okay, so we're going to start off with some grounding. We're going to slow down. We are going to drop into our bodies and connect with the moment and connect with spirit so that we can create a container here where spirit can come through both of us so that we can deliver whatever message needs to come up for you. Okay, so I need everybody to close their eyes. And everyone take a deep breath through your nose. Breathe in a white, warm, beautiful light that's full of serenity, peace, and tranquility. Hold your breath. Breathe out with the sound. With every exhale, I want you to release anywhere in your body that's tension. If it's your shoulders, your neck, if it's your jaw, your cheeks, your eyes, your eyebrows. Relax your hands, your arms, your feet. And I want you to let go of anything that's heavy on you. Let go of anything that's weighing on you, anything that's been bringing you down today, yesterday, last week, last month. As we are going to surrender here and take a moment from life to rest, to receive, and to be in the moment that we're able to allow ourselves in this next hour of Sacred Soul Podcast to receive the messages that are coming in from Spirit, from God, from your angels, from your spirit guide, from your ascended masters, from the archangels, any galactical beings, anything above and on in the realms of spirituality, that they can come in this space and give you a message that you can really take in this week and this month on how to move forward in your life into your highest self. Okay, so we're taking another deep breath in. Breathe in this white, beautiful light that's full of this glitter that is upgrading all of the cells in your DNA and the molecules that are around your thoughts, your speech, your body. That there's just healing coming through. Breathe it in, hold it. Breathe out. Breathe out anything uncomfortable, anything negative, any trauma, anything heavy. Release it out. Release it. I want you to continue to slow down. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Breathe in the white light, the magic, the glitter that is now going from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. That this glitter is just activating and upgrading your DNA as we speak, your cells, the atoms in your body for optimal health, that we may create a beautiful, healthy lifestyle of up-leveling to our next level. Release. Release. Release anything negative that happened this week, anything that's you're just holding on to, any anger, any resentment, any stress, fear. Let it go. We're going to take another deep breath in through the nose. Again, this white, beautiful, invigorating, soft, gentle glitter magic that's upgrading all your cells and your DNA into the next chapter, the next level of your life. Receive it, receive it, receive it. You are now telling Spirit that you are open and available to expand, to make more room for that which is part of your upgrade to come in. There's room. You're freeing yourself of any negativity that's taking up space in your area to expand. We now have freedom. Breathe out. The more you release, the more open space you're leaving for your blessings, your manifestations, and your prayers to come through and to expand you into higher blessings, into manifestations, into prayers. We release, we release, we release. Whew, we release heaviness, we release anger, we release resentment, we release stress, we release drama, we release toxicity, we release fear, we really release heartbreak. Whew, we release self-sabotage, we release laziness, we release anything that's holding us back from everything and anything that we need to be in this moment, be for tomorrow, and be for the rest of the week and the rest of the month. For ourselves, for our lovers, for our family, for our children, for our society, and for the world. Put your hand over your heart. I just want you to feel the love that is radiating, that you took time out of your day and your busy schedule to slow down, to tell Spirit that you're present. You're present for all that exists, present for yourself. Feel what it feels to just have self-love. Ooh, yes, receive it, receive it. And then slowly open your eyes, move your hands.
I even have some tears coming now.
I love it. What
Purging.
What came up for you?
My makeup was burning me. It was no feelings and emotions, I know. It was a joke. Just releasing any kind of stuck emotions from the week, because we all have them. And sometimes they don't always get released, whether it's anger, resentment, any kind of self-doubt, all that. We all have it.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, we all do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it's always a purge whenever we're releasing something from our body, whether it's a yawn, whether it's tears, any kind of tiredness, sneezing, burping, gas. It's all purging.
Right.
Vomiting, throwing up, diarrhea. It's all purge.
And I just learned that this year because now when I'm places and I find anytime I'm on the phone with my coaches or I'm in my coaching program, I start choking and I'll need like a bottle of water.
Yeah.
And through all the work that I've been, this is my first time ever working with trauma release.
Yes.
And during that time period, while I'm coughing, my coaches are always like, you're releasing, like something like you're releasing what we're talking about. And I'm like, oh, I just thought it was coughing.
Yeah, no, it's a purge.
So it's interesting when I'm with people or places and we get into any kind of deep conversation, how many times people cough.
Oh yeah,
cough, yawn,
yes,
even yawning.
Oh yeah,
like,
yawning also.
I swear, I'm not bored.
Yeah,
but
no,
yawning is energy is moving.
Yeah,
and it was probably stuck in an area that hasn't been activated.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just like that process is something that I feel like a lot of people, normal people who aren't super spiritual, I guess, don't realize like yawning, coughing, whenever any kind of stuff like that comes up, sneezing
too.
Oh yeah,
hiccups also.
Hiccups.
Allergies.
It's your body's moving energy, like energy is being moving.
Yeah.
Let me change hands with these because these are crackling
Oh,
in my
okay, yeah.
hand every time I move. It's kind of like a tambourine over here. It's like, yeah. So I love that, and that's
Yeah.
something I feel like. I think it's a beautiful thing because just to be more self-aware of we are energy
Yes,
all the
exactly.
time.
Yes.
And energy is always either in movement or stagnant. So it's always nice where I'm like, oh, deep conversation, I'm coughing. Or like, I get to be like, oh, something's moving through me versus like, we're just taking everything so much more deeper.
Yes.
Because we're always trying to, I'm really learning that, which is for me, everything's so brand new is that, let's just say we have like a barrel. And in the barrel, we can have all of our anger, our traumas, and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to expand further than the barrel because it only holds so much energy. So as I release anger, resentment, trauma, drama, toxicity, that now that there's certain areas now that are like there's open space now for all my manifestations and prayers to be like, oh look, there's a little groove right there. Let me stick myself in there into Deanne's life. Because that stubborn witch finally decided to let go of something.
Yes. It's very true.
Just see, I'm so creative, you guys. I have like I'm just like I should be a comic book writer or something because the way I think in life, like I'm literally everything's like the funniest pictures to me. So that's just how I see it. For me, that works.
Yes.
Is like I'm like, damn. There's like my dreams are like, right now your energy is on 100 at a like. I need you to like open up some space. And I'm like, because I know what I'm calling in this year. Like I'm calling $100,000 months for my coaching.
Yes.
I'm calling my retreat. There's so much that I'm calling in.
Yes.
But I need to be able to expand so wide and have the space for it to come in.
Yes. Yeah, because all that stuff creates resistance.
Yes.
That's what people don't really realize, which goes into our topic because us purging whatever stuck, it's triggers.
Right.
Because whatever we're talking about triggers the other person.
Okay, so let's go into this.
Yeah.
Topic is
Healing our emotional
healing our
triggers.
emotional triggers.
Yes.
Okay. And we are going to drop into our special guest, Starlet here.
Yes.
She picked this topic. So.
I picked this topic, especially because I'm a Reiki master and also a spiritual advisor. I've been doing this for about, let me see here, over maybe 3-4 years already. And I'm busy every single week. No joke, very consistent. So it's, I feel this is a root of a lot of what's going on within our lives in general, because it's how we react to anything, actually, any kind of situation, any kind of even experiences, whether it's tone, whether it's body language, whether it's even how facial expressions from someone and how people interpret it is what causes the trigger. And much more than just that too. And a lot of it comes from neurotransmitters.
Okay, and what's a neurotransmitter for everyone else? Because I know what it is.
Yes. So what people will, say like chemical imbalance, that's how doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists like to label it. And our neurotransmitters are in our brain. I believe we have 7 or 8 of them, and they're all in charge of certain things with, one of them's feelings and emotions, and how we adapt to things as well. So that's what our neurotransmitters are. So when our neurotransmitters are either we could set them off, whether it's environmental, it could be environmental such as family life. It could also be whether you're using drugs, whether you're alcohol, anything that's used to induce. Okay. And to induce it. That's pretty much what our neurotransmitters are. And we have certain triggers, I can give like an example, which has to do with trauma. Let's say, I'll give you an example of childhood trauma. Something that we've seen as a child, and we don't know how to react to it because we're children, and sometimes we're told, let's not talk about it, let's keep quiet, because that's what we're supposed to do as kids. therefore that's being held within us, and that starts forming our brain, which is our neurotransmitters, to be a certain way and to act a certain way. So when this comes up later on in life and we go and we see that same type of reaction, or we go back into that space and feel that same exact feeling and emotion, that's what causes the trigger. And that's what causes childhood trauma, where people don't know how to react to that. So therefore, they act out of anger. They could act out of silence. Some people just choose to ignore it, so it builds up. There's all different kinds of ways. So there's not really one particular way, but there's quite a few ways in regards to this. So this is not something that's just built overnight. This is something that's been going on and been happening since we were born, and we started, as a child up until adulthood. Which is usually my sister's reaction when it comes to triggers. It's okay, yeah.
Wait, no shit. That's true.
It is. It's always. I'm not kidding. It really is. We're not joking. Seriously, yeah. It's always her reaction to that because it's uncomfortable.
Yes. Okay. So there's two ways that triggers are. You're either triggers. You're either reactive, which is anger, screaming, yelling, fighting, drama, confrontation, or also a trigger is also the opposite. Somebody who withdraws, somebody who goes cold, somebody that pulls back. And my trigger is I withdraw. I get quiet. So right now I was like, yeah. Like when I'm triggered, like for me to be I'm quiet. I'm just like, It's kind of like they say, like the quiet ones to be scared of.
Yes.
So it don't matter whether I'm quiet or loud. Like I'm in a trigger, and I feel because I'm aware of if I cannot afford to be reactive because I was brought up in a reactive home with people screaming and yelling and fighting. So I already have this, talking about triggers, I already have this connection that if I'm to yell, I'm going to start fighting physically. And I'm not going to be able to control it.
It's an association.
Yeah. So I don't get to the point where I yell or scream. And it's happened 5 times in my life ever. And all 5 times turned into a very violent situation. So I always just go, and I withdraw, or I just stay cold and I disconnect. Because to me, that's my way to deal with not, the triggers. And triggers are, people are probably even wondering, like, what is a trigger? Where do triggers come from? So triggers are when you haven't, they are when you have not dealt with wounds. So unhealed wounds are always going to be triggered. And and that's like the best way to understand it. So when I meet somebody who's really has anger problems, the first thing in my head is like, holy shit, this person has a lot of pain, which is wounding, and they have done zero inner work. For somebody that loses their cool all the time, people who are abusive, drama, or toxic are people with a lot of wounds that they have done zero inner work to heal, versus people who, some people we know that like they've never in their life like had these crazy triggers, and a lot of times it's people who we've done a lot of inner work.
Yes.
People always be like, "Oh my God, Deanne, you're always so nice, or you're always so sweet," and it's no. I've done a lot of inner work. I want to curse so bad.
Exactly. Yes.
I've done so much inner work on healing trauma that I don't have to yell. I don't have to scream. I have to call anybody names. I don't have to become toxic or drama, because that's not in alignment with what I'm standing for. And when you're in that trauma moment, like I just know that nothing, I'm going to have to.
You're reliving it.
I just hate saying sorry, guys. For that reason alone.
Yes, that's pretty much what it comes
I
down
just
to.
like, even there's ego and pride there. I just hate saying sorry. So I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. But at the end of the day, that's what a trigger is. A trigger is unhealed wounds.
So I have a quick question. Why is it you don't like to say sorry? What do you associate sorry with? Like, does it not? Do you feel like it doesn't have much meaning, or do people? There's always usually there's usually a definition.
Yeah. Okay. So a story that I have. So everything's a story.
Yes.
So we have stories. So I can be like, so my disempowering story, which I'm a journal now after this because she just called me out on that, and I love it. So the story I made up is if I start being toxic or drama or yelling, to me it's weakness.
Okay.
And for me to have to say so the only time I'd have to say sorry is because I lost control.
Okay.
And that to me is ego, where I would never want to seem out of control.
Oh, okay.
So for me to have to say sorry to somebody, that means I lost control.
Oh, okay. That's how you associate.
So that's how I associate it.
Because everybody has their own association.
Yeah.
That's one of them. There's other also too, not just that. So some people feel like, well, the way that I was brought up, it just doesn't mean anything, because when people would say sorry, they just say it just to say it. It's just, and which is an association also, because people do. And then there's that also, and then there are some people that genuinely mean it. And then depending on how the other person perceives it, they could think like, well, she's just saying it just to say it, so why should I believe her?
Right.
So there's always
so many stories
and misinterpretations.
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
misinterpretations.
true.
Yeah, which could cause even more chaos.
Yeah. So that's definitely my reason. Like I really in my head is like, I'm not, like, I just literally think like I don't want to apologize for something. Like at the end of the day, it's like, because I hold myself at such a high standard of living,
Yes,
that I operate from my highest self at all times. So the fact that I went out of my vibrational frequency for a moment, which my baby daddy's good at that.
You see, there you go. There's always a trigger.
It's again, it takes me back to a person who I was.
Yeah.
Like I am no longer in alignment with being less than excellent. I am no longer in alignment with anything that I'm not operating from, like the optimal highest frequency. I'm not in alignment with it.
Yes.
Like I'll have an emotional hangover.
Yeah.
Anytime that I'm going to cause somebody pain, where I'm going to act out, yell, scream, or I'm going to be in charge of something like that, like I literally feel like I need a hangover the next day.
Yeah.
Actually, for 2 or 3 days, I want to lay in bed all day long, because I have such high light vibrational frequency that when that darkness gets in, it's literally drains me.
Yes, it's very draining.
Versus like toxic people, they're like, I love it. It's an adrenaline rush.
It is, yeah.
But I've done so much work that I'm just like, icky.
It is, yes, exactly.
Icky,
it is.
Yucky. It's heavy.
Yeah.
I have to do a whole fucking limpia. I gotta do a whole cleanse.
Yes, you have to add more to
right.
what
and
it is.
what happens too is anytime if I am triggered with something, that's because it's correct. I'm reliving a past trauma.
Yes.
And that's fucked up.
Yeah. So baby daddy is reliving a past trauma. So what do you associate baby daddy with?
I don't know. I mean, it just depends there's so much trauma with him. Shit, I've been in therapy since I was 26 with our incidences. I don't know, like it's a lot of things, but mainly just controlling him, like to be who I want him to be, and him not.
Okay.
He's not going to ever change who he is.
Yes.
So I just like the fact that I'm no longer in charge of running his life, kind of.
Okay.
Like I'm not your mom anymore. So then you get to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And then from there now I'm just like, you're making all the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
But
so does that go back to your childhood?
I would say my childhood.
or anything that you've seen as a child, like the same type of behavior?
Control. You know what? I guess the controlling part would be like anytime that I had issues with my dad because of his drinking. I was the only one in the family that could control him and calm him down and have him act right and like calm him down.
So there we go. So
And,
that's the reliving.
So I do that. I did that. With him as well. That
Yeah.
is
So
true,
that's because it usually does. It's like when people come into our lives that trigger us, it's usually reliving something from our childhood.
Right.
And or it's something where we wish we could have done something about it.
Right.
If it's not however we interpret it.
Right.
You know, because we all have our own childhood traumas.
Yeah.
You know, so with certain things that trigger me, it has to do with, and I go back to that space. I'm like, okay, this is where it's coming from.
Right.
You know, because it always has to do with that. It's very rare that it's like the source comes from adulthood.
That's very true. That's super, super true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So remember, triggers are wounds that are still unhealed, and they're either reactive or you withdraw on triggers. And then from there, like let's go into discussing like the traumas, right? Like in order to not the healing part.
The healing
In
part,
order
yes.
to heal triggers, that means you got to do the inner work.
Yes.
That
And
means you need to heal the wounds that you have a Band-Aid over. And like the first awareness is when you are triggered, you're like, how are you reacting? Which
Yes.
we've discussed that part already. When you're angry, you withdraw. When you're abusive, when you cause drama, whatever is going on, you're lashing out. When you're condescending, when you're putting somebody up, those are all triggers. And we're here to be our highest selves. We're committed to a different quality of life, of living, that when we're operating from that vibrational frequency, it's like a big like radar of God being like, woohoo, warning,
Yes.
warning,
Yes.
wound, more trauma work.
Yes.
More
Oh, yeah.
trauma work, wounding. And at the end of the day, a lot of people, that's normal for them.
No, it is.
No, some people are so toxic. It's
Yeah, exactly.
normal.
Yeah, and that's where people define the toxic, or they say, well, I'm toxic. No, you choose to be toxic because the toxicity comes from those reactions to the triggers.
And there's nothing that bothers me more when somebody's like, I'm toxic and he loves it. I'm like,
no,
it's the biggest turnoff
it
to
is.
me.
No, I do not like when people say, I'm like, please stop
And
saying
then
that.
the fact of the person that's with them, I'm just like,
Yeah.
they have trauma that
Yes.
this is normal to them.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
okay for this person to treat this person like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm always like, holy shit. Now we have like, people are convincing other people,
yeah.
I can abuse you all I want. Ha ha ha. You're not leaving no matter what. Ha 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 ha. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to abuse you and be toxic. And
Exactly,
they're
yeah.
going to take it. And people are like, guys are like, or the women or guys are like, yeah, ha ha ha.
Yeah, no, it's
Like
not
it's
okay.
really like, it should not be something that people are praising or bragging about. Like we're really here for world transformation. We're
Yes.
for our transformation, our friends' transformation, our family's transformation, for elevation, for elevating, for awakening. And we need to really hold each other to a certain standard of, hey, honey, hey, best friend, or hey, so and so, like, can you, I'm like, call me out. She'll be like, sister, is that really who you are?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'll be like, no.
Yeah.
Well, how does that feel? Icky. Oh, okay, you gonna do it? Fuck.
Yeah.
Maybe let me think about it. Yeah. But that's all I need is that little moment, like that split moment that it's not even about me or the trauma at that moment or the unhealed part. I already know I've already made a commitment to being to living at a higher frequency.
Yes.
And I'm committed to that. So when somebody is able to like stop me mid anything triggering and hold me to my word, this is who I'm choosing to be, will hold me accountable, then that's love to me.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
So we should start like honoring people that are holding you accountable or calling you out when you're in your trigger and you're being a dickhead or an asshole.
Yeah, and everything's on how people present things too, because some people, for instance, like I can give an example. Some people will, let's say a circle of friends, okay? They'll say, well, I don't like that person. So then the other friends, it's like, well, it's because you don't like anybody. It's not that. Sometimes it's however that person is presenting themselves or their energy that triggers that other person. What is it? You know? And people don't really, so they'll label things like that. Like, it's not you don't like the person. Sometimes it's the energy. But the energy comes from your unhealed trauma. That's where it comes from. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a source to it, you know, and that's what some people don't realize. There's always a source.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into healing.
Yes.
Trauma.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Trigger.
Shout out some people.
Oh, okay. Do we have
Real
questions?
All right, guys, live in our live chat. Some of you are gonna get shouted out right now. Let's see. Trina, remember your friend Trina? Is she with? I don't know if this is the same person, but Paolo and Trina. It says, and he says, we are here for the healing, and Trina misses her friend. I don't know if you know.
Sorry, we just said me home.
Paolo and Trina. Is that your old friend, Trina?
Trina.
Yeah,
Trina,
I don't know. Maybe if she's with someone named Paulo, but
Oh,
it says we are here for the healing, and Trina misses her friend.
Hi, Trina.
So maybe Katrina and PJ.
Yes, she helped raise Jasmine when I was little. When I was
okay.
my first
Yeah.
my first jobs.
Wow.
Jasmine used to cry, so I couldn't take her to daycare because they would have me come back to get her because she'd hyperventilate for like
Yeah.
5-6 hours.
Really?
And Trina was just like, drop her off with me. And after like a week of hyperventilating, Jasmine got over it.
Okay.
And the only person she would go with was just Trina and then my mom and my brother. That was it.
And
Yeah.
she hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Just kidding, Jazzy. We love you. And then our classic Tweety Bird Jr.'s in the building. Thank you for always being a consistent fan. And then we have SP says, big fan, looks like you're living good. I wish you all the best. And then we have a question. Doesn't necessarily pertain to what we're talking about, but says, hi, Tade Petrosian says, hi, Deanna. How are you doing? How's it going? May I ask you for your advice, please? What is the best way to approach a woman? I would like to get a girlfriend. Maybe we can answer this question at the end or now. I don't know.
Yeah, we can answer that.
But let's see. Matthew Lawson says, that's a better purge than what the movies purge want us to do. Because the movies purge. Instead of murdering everybody.
Yeah, because that's what ends up happening.
Oh, Paolo says, Paolo and Trina pretty much says, I sneeze after orgasm now. Only Trina my whole life makes me bust then sneeze attack. Only Trina in my whole life. It's crazy when you truly have a deep connection with your mate. I think it's special. I'm glad you have a good sneeze.
Yeah.
Maybe one
Trina
day
be doing it. Get it, girl.
maybe one day I'll sneeze like that.
You guys want anything from the hibachi truck?
Absolutely, yes.
What do
Yes.
you want, Mijo?
Whatever, vegetables
steak and
rice.
chicken combination.
I can't.
Okay.
No meat.
And veggies also as well.
What does he know? He's buying it for the whole entire group
Let's
here.
see. Paulo also says we have to learn to love ourselves. Put gun locks on triggers. So important to find perfect emotional balance and
Just
good
one veggie?
vibes.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Marissa. Oh, Marissa.
Oh.
Marissa says
Marisa.
to both you, Star and Deanne. What do you think about generational trauma that stems from childhood and beyond?
Ooh, we're
Oh,
about
that's
to
a
get
good
to
one.
that
Yeah,
part.
that one.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so maybe that could be our next.
Yes.
Paulo, again, all your trials and life experiences have made you a superwoman. Keep passing that good knowledge on. And then Siraj, I think Siraj has to be patient. It says, why you open chat box if you don't look into chat box? We're looking into chat box, Siraj. You just have to be patient. Practice. Someone was triggered.
Yeah, somebody was triggered. Yeah.
I was like, let it go, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go, let it go, let it go.
It's okay, Siraj. We're working on our triggers too. Let's see. That's it. Another just dumb comments after that. And this is for you, Star. Encanto Morales. Sending love to my sister Star and her sister Dan.
Oh, thank you. I don't know who that is.
Oh,
But
both.
thank you.
I don't know. Maybe.
Receiving and giving
Sort of
love.
sounds okay. Again, Encanti Morales says, yes, curious to think what you ladies have to say from Marissa's question. Okay, there you go. So I guess.
Okay, I know who that is. Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
know
do?
who that is.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's go
that's my
back to
friend Wendy.
So Marissa does say, what do you think about generational trauma that stems from childhood and beyond?
So we're actually going to go into that right now because we're going to
Yes.
talk about now the wounds and healing it. So that's gonna be
Yes, definitely.
gonna be trauma including generational.
Yeah.
Say no to toxic.
Yes.
No tóxicas, por
Stop
favor.
saying that stuff. It's ridiculous. Alrighty.
We're caught up and we're ordering. Sorry. Everyone, we're ordering food right now. So sorry.
Yes,
Deanne has
my
been distracted.
date tonight.
Hibachi.
Her hot date, hibachi.
my podcast date.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's get into healing these wounds now.
Yes, generation trauma.
So I'm gonna go a little bit into just starting it off, and then this is how I view healing wounds. And when you start to do the inner work, we call it shadow work. Means that you're willing to look at all the areas in your life that have been in the dark too long,
Yes.
that you haven't brought any kind of light into it because you've been avoiding it. And how I look at it, again, I love to do comic books, is I see wounds as like a big laceration where they, like, let's just say it's in my shoulder. And instead of like going to the doctor and having like the alcohol, the Benadine put in, cleansing it out, and then having the doctor, stitch it up with like clean needle and clean thread, and, and taking time out, to relax and rest and allow it to heal and then move forward. What happens in life is a lot of wounds that people have felt, they ended up learning a survival like mechanism, like a survival mode of like fighting or flight or dissociation or pretending it didn't happen, not talking about it, running from it, alcohol, drugs, sex, abuse. There's so many things that happen that people use, and any of those things are called Band-Aids. So you're merely putting a Band-Aid over a wound. And then what happens is your skin starts to instead of healing, it now starts to grow skin over the Band-Aids. And mind you, in the wound, now you have pus, you have mold, it's infected. The whole area of the skin is all red, right? And now the skin's growing over all of that. And you have this like huge scar tissue. And then you go around your life with this huge scar, and then mind you, they're all over our soul, all over our energies. That's why some people, you meet them, and you're just like, oh, heavy energies. Because
Yes.
some people just hold on
on
to
to that.
everything, and you can feel the heaviness.
Yes.
Now, when you're dealing with your triggers, it's going to require you to go in, and first of all, you got to cut open the scar tissue. That hurts. Then you got to pull it open. And then when you're pulling this scar tissue open, it's going to hurt. Okay. Now you got to get rid of the scar tissue, to either cut it out, burn it off, or whatever. Now you get the Band-Aids. Now you got to pull the Band-Aids off. That shit hurts. Now you got to get the alcohol, the medicine, and pour it in the wound that's all pussy.
Yes.
That hurts. So people have traumas and wounds because people are so trained to run from feelings, so trained from not wanting to feel pain versus let's feel the pain, because the more we feel it, the quicker we release it, and it now transmute, making free room in our body to breathe and grow and evolve versus all that heavy lacerations all over.
Yes.
So to me, like I'm a picture person. I'm visual.
Yes.
So for me, like I'm just going to give you the visual of how what the trigger is. So merely the trigger is just letting you know there's a wound somewhere in your life at some point that is unhealed, that there's work to be done. And to me, it's a beautiful blessing. I've learned to love shadow work. I've learned to love crying. I've learned to love hurting.
Yes.
I've learned to love heartbreak. Because in that, I know that I'm healing all my trauma. And what Marissa says, the more healing that I'm doing, now the healing can go deeper to lineages, which could go to my mom's traumas, to my grandma's traumas, to my great grandma's traumas, to my great 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 grandma's traumas, and including my grandpa's through my mom's side and my dad's side. So it's like infinitive of trauma in my family's life. And if I'm the person to break the generational curse in our family, it's because I'm willing to do the work in the areas that nobody else has been willing to. So that's what generational healing is. Generational trauma is what runs in my family that keeps getting passed down for generation, for generation, for generation. And who's willing to be the person in the family to say, nah, that's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to speak up.
It.
I'm going to say something. And I'm going to dig deeper. And
Yeah, and sometimes, and actually a lot of times when that happens, our mom, dad, grandparents, whoever may be that raised us will see that, and a lot of times that can cause some chaos in the family. Sometimes they're not okay with it. They think that we're, breaking a tradition or whatever it may be of how we handle this. You know what I mean? And sometimes they won't talk to us. Oh, I went through this with my grandma. Okay. I had to do a lot of because she doesn't agree with how I handle stuff. I'm like,
especially old school Mexicans.
Yes. And I'm just like, this pattern stops now. Like, I'm not going to allow it. And sometimes it's not that I don't want to talk to them. They just don't want to understand, They don't want to come from that space like, okay, I get why she's doing this, And so they hold grudges. And it's like, oh my God, Jesus, okay, when you get over it, you know what?
Because
I'm going to be right here.
You're triggering her wound.
Exactly, yes.
That she doesn't want to talk
about it. Exactly,
doesn't want to remember it. And nor does she want to take accountability.
Exactly, yes.
At the fact that, well, that was a secret when you were little.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing it up?
Why are you bringing it up
I'm
now?
mad at you. You're wrong.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Because now that person needs to take accountability.
Yes.
Our family on how they didn't take responsibility, on where they needed to speak up or they didn't speak up, or on the work that they haven't done.
Exactly.
But they've done really hard work at pretending it didn't
happen. Exactly. Yes. And then so when we're doing our work, it's a lot of work because not only are we dealing with our own personal stuff during right now at this present moment, now we're dealing with ancestral and generation stuff as well. So that comes up and it's just like, oh my God, wow, this is a lot. It becomes overwhelming.
Definitely.
So it's something that, here we go again, the triggers, the healing part. Where people think, well, how do I start the work? You just have to start somewhere where, okay, you know what? Where is it you would not like to be anymore? What part of you is it that you feel, okay, you know what? I'm tired of feeling this way.
I have another good one too. My little characters are running around in my head. So I think this is the first place to start when people are like, well, how do I know what's my trauma or what my triggers are?
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, what is the biggest trigger in your freaking life?
Yes.
Like, what's that one thing you're just like, that irks me? Or that one, or what's, like, what is it for you that causes you to lose your mind? That's where you start with. You start with your biggest triggers, with the moments that you're just like, you're in your trigger like 110%. So that's where we start with the healing, is we start with the biggest ones and write them all down. Write down everything that triggers you. Oh, it triggers, like for me, like to this day, like I was thinking about this earlier driving here. And I was like, okay, well, I know I've done a lot of shadow work, a lot of trauma work. And I was like, it's very, very rare for anyone to see me flip out or lose control. And to be like,
yes,
oh, like this crazy, dramatic, abusive trigger. But I can tell you right now, like when I did think, like, what is one thing I was like, ooh, like I could feel the rage.
Oh, yes.
In my throat and in my shoulders and my hands.
Yeah,
were like
the
this.
tension. Yeah.
Anything to do with spousal abuse.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything to do with a guy beating a woman or a girl. That like this a thought of it already. I'm just like my hands are letting like
Yeah.
like so that for me would still be my biggest trigger.
Yes. Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of wounding over the fact that my dad was abusive, and it's just I don't know if I mean shit I've been doing work.
Oh, yes.
So when I have friends around who get into physical altercation with their partners, I literally want to like a man, like, really? You want to fight like a man? Come fight me. Like I my trigger like that is like in 2.5 seconds. Like there's not this, I'm still haven't been with that wound.
Yeah.
Of being like, okay, well, let me just about that's their business.
Yeah.
I'm legit like, no, you
you were
want
gonna say,
Come
yeah.
fight me.
Yeah.
Trust me, like I'm gonna fight you like a man. Like one of us
Yes.
is going to prison tonight or to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Like that's trauma.
Yeah. it
That's
is.
like how hurt I was growing up. That it's still so alive.
It's so
to me.
alive.
So how do you know what you are wounded? The things that trigger you the most. So that's already like just write a list of everything that you're like, this triggers me, this triggers me, this triggers me.
Yeah, we do. We
that.
all have a lot of triggers. We all do. Yeah.
And that's how you can start to write it all down. Pen and paper, journaling is going to change your life, you guys. Write it all down.
Definitely.
And you're going to see shit. I
Yeah.
have a lot of freaking triggers.
Oh, yes, definitely. And that's normal. Don't think like, oh, my
yeah,
God,
no.
I'm like crazy, or oh my God, this is not okay. Like, it's normal, because we all have to start somewhere. And people tend to get confused, or they feel like, oh my God, well, how do I go about this? And that is the very first, definitely, I totally recommend that as well too.
Let's go with the big ones. The little ones, are probably causing the less strife in your life.
Yeah.
And the
exactly.
less drama. And deal with like again, like go into this with some freaking big balls energy. Go in this courageous and go in this also gentle. And what do I like? How do you have big balls and be gentle? Big balls is like I'm coming in to do the work, and that requires courage. So courage. Remember, I see everything's photos.
Yes.
I see big balls.
Yes.
But gentle, because when you're going in that wound and you're pouring in the alcohol, it's literally like you imagine this beautiful healing light coming in from God or whatever you believe in, or from spirit, or from like a beautiful white dove.
Yes.
That's just coming in to gently, like just rinse it out, and like this beautiful like ebbing and flowing of the pus and the anger and the pain and the tears and the secrets and the darkness. And it's just like gently moving through it, loosening it up, right? Everything's starting to dislodge. And when it comes out, you're going to want to cry. You're going to want to scream. It needs to be purged.
Yes, exactly. That's where the purging comes in.
Is a must with it. So that's why I'm like big balls to go in there. But when you're in it, that's when you really got to drop into that soft, gentle love to yourself to come in and get into those places, and of just, you really need to like hold a really loving space for yourself. Like, like I love myself so much, and I'm just going to hold I'm going to hold myself in this space and honor myself and be like, okay, you're safe. Like, go ahead, scream and cry, like whatever needs to be, whatever your process is, like you are allowed to have it.
Exactly.
For all the times you didn't get to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of us, we were, here we go, a generation pattern. We had to stay quiet. We weren't allowed to speak up, So imagine having to hold back on so many years of just as a child because we couldn't speak up, So then as adults, we're like, oh my God, now I get to speak up about everything. But then sometimes it doesn't come out the correct way, because, or sometimes we suppress it. Those feelings with alcohol, drugs, anything that's out there that is not good for us, So, and that's normal, and unfortunately it is. It's normal to do that. But at the same time, having to recognize and be like, okay, you know what? This stops now. This stops here, because we're just numbing ourselves. It's a temporary numb, and it's a temporary fix. And
definitely.
once you go into that healing your healing work, give yourself some time. You're going to feel very tired afterwards. Okay. You're going to feel very drained. You're going to feel like, oh my God, you just went through hell and back. That's completely normal. You might be drained for like 2 or 3 days. Okay.
Emotional hangover.
Yes.
That's my little word
yes,
for it.
it is. It
See,
is.
for people to try to even understand, because they would be like,
That's
what
the
happened to
after
the
effect.
happiness?
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to be elevated.
Yeah,
I thought this was
no,
awakening.
that's the
I thought it was
definition
supposed
people
to be
have.
God and these
yeah,
angels singing
yes,
to me. That comes later.
yeah, that comes way later. You know, and that's what people don't understand because they're like, well, how come this and how come that's not what I was expecting? And this, I go, no, that's not what the work is. I go, once you go there, you're going to, sometimes it's even a week, you know, and then sometimes people, if it's really difficult, sometimes people will use plant medicine. Okay, which I'm for.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, some people will use plant.
Ayahuasca's calling my name, guys.
So plant medicine, I've done combo. I've done hape.
I always forget that one. So I'm
yeah,
always like, I
hape.
went with Keiko. I went with Star to do combo.
Yes, and that's purging. You know,
Support her. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always forget what the other one was called.
yeah, it was the hape.
Hape.
Yeah, that's the
Hape,
tobacco.
okay.
It's a tobacco that's
They blew
being
it,
they blew
yeah.
in my nose.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where you just and
Yeah.
sometimes we need that little extra because sometimes we feel like, okay, this I'm feeling stuck. I'm like, I feel that there's more, but I don't know how to let this out. You know, and that happens because sometimes we just
Have you done it again since then or no?
no, but I would like to though.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely would like to.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
coaches that I follow that their morning rituals.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like in the morning, they're just like
Yeah.
I follow the most dopest coaches. They live in these beautiful bungalows in like the forest in Costa
Yeah.
Rica.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and
yeah,
every
yeah.
morning they wake up sun-kissed tan skin, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just like no makeup, no hair, and they're like, "Good morning."
Yeah.
And they're out on the porch and they're journaling, and
Yes.
and then they have the little rapé thing, and I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I know.
I'm ready to pack up and go to Costa Rica.
Seriously, because and here we go again. A lot of this chaos that we even have in this world right now is because we act out of anger.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody wants to be
Wounds,
right. Wounds, traumas. You know, especially when we went into quarantine where people had no choice but to sit with themselves because they couldn't go anywhere
Yes.
because people go places, they go do things, so they get distracted.
Yeah.
They're used to distractions, you know? So when you have to sit with yourself for that long, you're like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. And that's why things are happening even right now.
And Shannon just shared that last week.
Yeah.
She called about, her topic was answering the calling. And she said for her, it was during quarantine.
Yeah.
She's like, I had my normal job and I was just like, yeah, it gets quiet.
Yeah, it gets quiet.
You're quiet.
Yeah, thank God I didn't mind before quarantine. That's all I gotta say. Because everyone's like, well, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm purging right now. What? Because nobody was in that space yet, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on her. So right now, where would you tell people to start? Someone right now is like, okay, here I am. I want to heal my triggers. What's the first? Like, give them some steps that you would give them to somebody that you're with in order to heal the wound and the trauma.
So usually with this, because I do this with my Reiki clients that I have since I'm a Reiki master, because a lot of it has to do with energy work. These issues come up when we're trying to heal, like during my sessions that I have with my clients. And a lot of the times they'll give me an example of how they're feeling, such as, oh my God, I got so angry at this and this person took me out of character, or I don't know why this keeps on showing up in my relationship. I'm having resentment, I'm having guilt. So when you feel those second emotions, you really have to reflect back to, okay, how old was I when I started feeling this way? Go back into your childhood, think of the little person that you are, and go to that space. What exactly happened in that situation where you feel that guilt or any kind of resentment? And that's where that's where your first step is. That's where the healing part comes in. And write that down. Write it down, and so you could understand. The first part is understanding. Okay, I recognize where it's coming from. So when this comes up again, you're like, okay, I'm feeling this resentment. I know where this is coming from. Let me breathe this out because this is not me anymore. And I'm going to learn to shift that. This is what I help my clients do. I help them shift that because it's at the end, it's still energy. Okay. Because whatever's happened with us reflects of how we live, which is energy.
Right.
So that's what I was saying. Like during my Reiki sessions, this is what I do with my clients. So that's the very first step. And sometimes when they don't, you really don't know where to go, then they usually come to me.
Do you find that people are willing to do the work, or
yes.
some people just want to be like, nah?
No,
fine.
a majority of my clients do want to do it. I'm going to say a good 95% that I have. The ones that don't want to do the work, I could usually tell with their second session or when I follow up with them, and I'm like, I will not deal with you anymore. Like when you're ready to do the work, and I'm very honest. I go, listen, you're going to waste my time and my energy and your money, okay? And your time and your energy, and then you're going to be like, well, how come this is not happening? Well, you're not doing the work. So I know when they've done the work because I see the results. All my clients that I've had last year,
did you hear that?
I've
You
seen
guys, did you
all
hear
the
that?
results now.
You know if if somebody's putting in the work by the results they have in their life.
Yes.
Like you're a living embodiment of your healing. You're a living embodiment of your trauma. You're a living embodiment of who you're being. And you're either being in your wounds and trauma, or you're being healing, and you're being transformation, and you're being a stand for your family to heal, for your children to heal, for your family, for your friends. Because I'm telling you something, when that light in your eyes turns back on, that you've been walking around just with this dead look in your eyes, and you literally have been walking around like a dead corpse, like The Walking Dead, the movie, because you've been lifeless for so long. You've been operating from the bare minimum, from survival mode, from triggers, from trauma. There is no light anymore about you.
No.
And people around you can see it and feel your energy, versus when you're doing the work, like there's a light about you. There's an energy. You become contagious.
Yes.
And this is interesting because I can notice already, because I can feel things, but there's people's social medias that I follow. I can always see, well, damn, like this person must be going through some deep shit.
Oh yes, no, definitely.
You could
yeah.
just see
You
the
could start
glow
recognizing
from their
exactly.
eyes is
Yeah.
gone.
Oh yeah.
Like just their energy levels, like, and I'm just like, wow, like that person's just, and they're not even aware of it.
They're not. No, a lot of, even with my client. Oh, trust me, I'm on my clients, like my repeat clientele that I have. I have a special little group that I have, and they're the ones who are very consistent. When I look, they know I look at all their stories. And so the minute I see something, I'm like, you need to come in. Oh my God, how did you know? Oh my God, is it showing? That right away they panic.
it's
You know what I
true.
mean? I go, yeah. I could sense it. I could feel it. So like, oh my God, how did you know? Oh my God, you're a witch. Oh my God, I'm scared of you. But they joke around, you know what I mean? But they're like, oh my God, I definitely need to come in. I go, yes, you're overdue to come in.
No, it's true.
It's true. You know,
because also in my program, Sacred Mastermind, everyone in the program, everyone's in the program because they're committed to living a higher standard, to set. So they've already have a bar set in their life, and how our bar is, it's like a glass little box. So so our theme is we're breaking glass ceilings. So wherever they were at when they came in, like that was the highest evolvement that they knew.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, we're gonna break all that glass.
all of that. Definitely.
And we're going higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
Every time we meet, every week, every month, you know, and like this is going to be a continuous 1-year container.
Yes.
So you could hold yourself at a higher evolvement level, and it takes commitment to hey. So if I want to be a demon and be toxica,
Yes.
it's easy. That's so easy for me.
Yeah.
But what's not easy is the emotional hangover, that icky feeling that I have for 2 days to 7 days, that I was so out of alignment. I'm just like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like that felt so icky. Then
Icky,
you're
yes.
in regret and remorse and guilt
Yeah.
because that no longer aligns with anything I stand for.
Yes.
So Sacred Mastermind, you guys, join my program. We have February containers. It's a year-long program. Star also has her Reiki work, and she has her
spiritual advising and all that.
Definitely.
So,
But same thing with me. I always say like I have the gift of prophecy,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I see things as well. Go ahead, brother.
All right, talking about what we've been talking about.
Talk about
But to go back to real quick, this also ties into what Marissa asked earlier about the generational curse, not curses, sorry,
Generational
generational
pattern.
trauma,
Generational pattern trauma.
triggers, all of the above. But our own Jasmine also said something very interesting, where she says, and what you guys were talking about earlier, that and it's pretty actually kind of deep, or it is deep. She says
She's in my Sacred Mastermind. Thank you.
Or maybe but the comment is we're wounded children from wounded children.
Yeah.
And that made me actually think. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah.
Like, it's totally true, but it's like, everyone here and everyone in the live chat and whoever might see this video in the next week or two, do we know the deepest? And because we all, and everyone's sitting here in this room and in the chat and wherever you're at in this world, every one of us have a deep dark secret that we'll never tell us so. Whether it's around us, our parents, their parents, their parents of parents. And I think it has to do that for exactly what we're talking about, that we are wounded children from wounded children, because we all have deep dark secrets. And that what's interesting is, like, do their secrets.
But let me just rephrase that word again. We can't say everyone. We could say I, because we can't speak for everybody, because a lot of us do the inner work that.
No, I'm not talking about work. I'm just talking about at some point in our lives when we're kids to growing up, we do have secrets. We might have something that hurt us. And later on, I mean, obviously now you've dealt with them. You're much older now, and but it took you a certain amount of years in your life to deal with this. When you were 16, 17, when I was 13, 14, when she was however she was, or whatever she was, or everyone he or she in the comments, we all had some point in our lives where we didn't know how to deal with it. We mentally or spiritually or whatever, we didn't know how to deal with it. And which also just makes me think, like, it's very interesting, like, does all of our trauma that we're feeling, obviously we're taking on from our generation and our generational generations. What if, like, everything that we've been through that we don't know, maybe our mom and dad and their mom and dad, or somewhere else, our abuelitas and abuelitos,
brother.
What happened to them? And is it just reoccurring with us? Like, were they abused the same exact way?
100%.
Were they?
Yes.
You know, in any way. And I'm actually not even saying this for you guys, because you guys already know. You guys have been through this. You guys are smart. But I'm just speaking this actually right now for the people in the comments, and for anyone that I feel like that there's going to be someone that's going to be watching this in the future that might need to hear this. And because we know how to deal with this. And we know how to heal, and we know the steps it takes. But I'm saying to speak to the people that don't know how to take the steps to heal their childhood wounds, or not even maybe theirs, maybe their mom and dad's, and then their grandpas and grandmas and their aunts, and then all the way back to the Aztec days. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just makes me think, like, oh man, like, that's interesting. Like, what if my mom's mom this exact same thing that happened to my sister happened 3, 4, 5 generations ago,
Yes.
and it came about again, and now we're re-healing and everything like that. And I just wanted to explain.
Oh, I love
basically
this one,
That's very, very true, though.
I wanted to go deep into it, because I feel like we're skim. We go so fast through because we only
Yeah, 'cause
have
we
an
have
hour.
an hour. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
But
like, oh my
I
God,
just
let's cover
wanted to-
everything.
I'm doing this more for somebody that might be watching in the future, not now, not for us, because we know, and you have your sacred class, and I really want people to know, like, this is what your sacred class is
Right.
about. This is the moment that someone like her gets to speak up, someone like me gets to speak up, and we don't just get to speak up about what's happening right now. We get to speak up about our mom's mom, our dad's dad, our dad's dad, our grandpa's grandma, and everything that's happened in our past. And I think it's pretty deep. I think it's pretty
No,
deep to know,
definitely.
like,
Yeah,
because
it's
it's like we might have to do when we're healing. It's like, damn, if I'm healing, maybe my mom needs to heal, maybe my dad needs to heal. How do I, and like then to go back to what like she said, she didn't even want to deal with certain people anymore, because if they don't want to heal, you can't heal them.
Yeah.
Johnny doesn't want to heal, he can't get me
Yeah,
healed,
it's so true.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm saying all this just to bring everything together, because you guys spoken to so many subjects tonight, and I'm thinking, okay, she said this, she said that, how can I, she
it
said that, and let's
together.
bring it all together,
Yeah.
like, and let's bring it together for the person that's going to watch this episode, and they're going to be like, wow, like this, I needed that, I needed to hear this, and I needed to know what this sacred is about, which I'm putting it on the screen right now for anyone that is interested. My sister has a 10-week course called Sacred Mastermind. Take it away.
Okay, guys. I actually love this. I love this, and we haven't got to this, but so it's this module would be considered, which a lot of it's like the inner child
It
healing.
is inner child. Exactly. It is.
So a lot of us have traumatic moments, memories that happened when we were children.
Yes.
And growing up, we always say, okay, well, I'm a victim of this, or this happened, or this happened. And we get to go back to that five, like, okay, so I'm gonna be vulnerable and tell how my work is and what I've been through, so you guys can see what it is. So generational trauma is what, so let's just say I come from an alcoholic father, was physically abused with my mom. And, you know, my mom didn't speak up. My mom never left. And my mom's still there. So I remember being like 5, 6 years old, being like, Mom, please just leave. Like, what are you doing? Come on. Like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And she never left. So I knew in my head, I was like, I never in my life will let my daughter go through this.
Yes.
Like that's crazy. And so that is the first moment of me breaking generational trauma, because
Exactly.
remember, like, my mom had a mom who was with her dad forever. Like, you know, we're talking old school Mexicans.
Yeah.
You know, we were taught no matter what a man does, you don't leave. There's kids involved.
Yes.
You just stay and be
You stay.
miserable. And you teach your children that misery is normal. And, you know, the more awakened the millennials are becoming in this time era, everyone now gets to say, no, you know, I'm not going to repeat what is happening with my great grandma, with my grandma, with my mom. I'm going to be the one that stops the abuse.
Yes.
I'm going to be the one that speaks up. I'm going to be the one that talks about everything that's happened, that it can be out in the public, that people can now take an accountability of,
Exactly.
no, this isn't a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't discuss my life in public, that's because maybe people in my family are still trying to keep secrets.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not my problem.
Yeah.
I get to speak my truth.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm healing and moving forward to where I want to be in my life.
Yes.
And with that, like, it's the one thing I get to look at too, is because when I do the work, I did a workshop March of last year. And it was a 7-day shamanic retreat. And in it, we did trauma work. So what happens in trauma work is we had to pick a situation in our life that was the most hurtful ever. And if it's a person, the person had to be standing in front of us. So we were like on our knees, and the person was supposed to be in front of me. And we're supposed to scream out loud. What would we say to that person today? Like everything, like, and whether I was 5 years old, 16, 25, or 45 years old. There's motherfuckers I still want to yell at right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously my biggest person is my dad.
Your dad,
There's still a lot of work there.
Yeah.
And I picked my dad. And in it, I was like, I got to like scream at the top of my lungs, like things that the 5-year-old Deanne never got to say.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where we're talking about breaking generational curses and healing the triggers that I don't have to be yelling at any man today in my life because I'm going through the process with my dad in an energetic spiritual space that now I'm healing deeper. So when some man comes into my life and triggers me in the way, so with my dad, I'm not going to outlash, like and they'll be like, damn girl, like I just said this or that.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll be like, what's your problem?
What's problem?
Versus now when they do that, I'm just like,
Yeah.
unbothered. And so in this process, right, I'm screaming out loud, I hate you, or you did this. Why did this happen? Like everything that I'm screaming, I'm crying. There's like mucus on my face. I'm hyperventilating. But can I tell you, like my throat chakra is so wide open.
Oh, yeah.
My heart's wide open. Like my gut is wide open. I'm so raw. And it's just this freedom that I'm screaming this out, which is allowing it to transmute now to heal. When you're releasing the trauma, it's transmuting to heal, which is expanding more room in my energy field now for more light. I'm not like, ooh, I'm just like, ooh, I'm loosey-goosey now. And in it, this is what we're talking about. Then they had me sit on that side, facing me. I've never had this. It's my first time doing it. And when I did that, and they said, okay, now you're sitting there and you're like, okay, like, and mind you, they make you do this for everything's a choice. So it was a 30-minute process. I was like so exhausted.
Oh, yes.
So I'm like trying to come over to this side. And I'm like, okay, so they haven't told me yet what are you doing on this side. I'm like, okay, here I am. And they're like, okay, that's you right there. How old were you when this event happened, or whatever your issue was? And I just always see myself 5 years old.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, now you're that person. And I was like, what? And they're like, what would that person tell you listening to everything you're saying?
Yeah.
Girl, changed my outlook on the trauma that our parents had to us.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That we never take time to stop and think, what have they been through
Yeah.
in their childhood? Maybe somebody did that to them.
Symptom. Yeah.
Maybe somebody, and they didn't have no one to, I don't know.
It's true. No, I agree, sister. I agree with you on that.
It was so powerful because I was sitting there in so much anger. Like, the only thing that came to my mind, literally, and because mind you, gift of prophecy was, I saw like, this stuff happened to my dad before.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's learned behavior.
It's learned behavior. Exactly. Yes.
And then I thought, who the fuck did that to my dad?
Yeah.
And then my dad had to keep the secret.
Yeah.
Imagine, and I'm thinking, how far above the lineages did that happen to that person? That did that to my dad. That did that to me. And then we're all going down and we're passing this shit on.
Exactly. Yes.
And for the first time ever, I was like, I mean, there's still no forgiveness, but I got to release so much more anger and make so much more space of like, correct. Like, we don't know what our parents have been through.
No, and sometimes we can't really, yes, held accountable, but we can't really hold them, how could I say? Because they didn't know any better. Maybe they didn't have the tools like we have now.
Correct. So,
okay. So
I'm going to get to that part right now. Okay. So then from there, I was like, holy shit, right? So the only thing that I could think that the most, because I was still like, it's a piece of shit. But I was like, hold on, no. Like, the only thing I told me from him, and I was like trying to access him as much as possible. And the only words that came out of my head was, I'm so sorry, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I have a sickness.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, and then I just cried so heavy and deep.
Yeah.
Like you can't really explain to your child, like, us being abusive to our child, like, there's no excuse.
Yeah, there isn't.
The only thing we could literally say is like, I'm sorry, I'm sick. there's a sickness
The
somewhere.
sickness,
And I was just like, wow, which means, and we learn this in transformational training as a trainer, is we teach people is our parents did the best they could do with the tools, they were given.
Yes. And sometimes
That's
those
it.
tools were passed on from generation to generation to generation. Yeah.
So if you didn't like the fact that your parents were shitty parents and you're repeating their same behavior with your kids, you get to be the person that breaks the generational curse going from your lineages.
Yes.
And like I said, that takes big balls energy,
It does.
courage,
Yeah.
and healing. Go ahead, brother.
All right. And then I mean that was basically that's beautiful. That's basically what we were all talking about.
Unlock the front door, please.
Real quick, Jasmine Chiquito, your daughter, she asked this Star, if you care to share, what is some trauma that you, Star, has healed or is working through, and how?
Okay, so my it's childhood trauma, which is, it goes back to both parents. I'm not gonna say one did more than the others, pretty equal, but one of the main ones that I had to, which was passed on from my grandmother, is my mom never told me that she loved me. Never said I love you. Never.
She didn't.
No.
I love you.
I love you too, sister. So
I love
for
you so,
me,
so, so,
and it
so
still
much.
hurts to this day, of course. But even though I've healed, I broke that pattern, and to hug, no affection either. That came from my grandma. You know what I mean? And same thing with the abuse from the females, not so much the males. You know, from my grandma to my mom. And then my mom, but from my great grandma, because my great grandma was mean to my grandma. I used to see it all the time. Yeah. And so did my mom. My mom used to see that too. And then my mom repeated that same pattern with me. Like, just from I couldn't even make a noise sometimes. So I got hit on the head with the brush. You know? So that's definitely one where I've learned that when it comes to physical affection and physical touch, that's one of my main love languages. It's because I didn't have that as a child. And that's not fair for a child to be robbed of that, you know, but that's because, here we go again, a generation pattern, you know, that was repeated. So my dad's side of the family, I don't know too well, but the abuse, there's some abuse that came from him as well too. And then also there was fear too. I'm going to say I had to really get over is once my mom passed away and my grandparents took custody, my dad tried to kidnap me. So I had to go in hiding at 6 years old. That is probably one of the most traumatic things a child could go through, is to have your own parent, be afraid of your own parent, where your parents were supposed to be a safe place. But I don't know what my dad went through. So I don't know what allowed him to be that way. You know, I don't know. So I can't hold him accountable. Both my parents are deceased, so I can't really talk to them about this. So sometimes it's a little difficult, you know. So when it comes to my relationships, I really try to recognize any kind of triggers or anything that brings anything up from what I saw in their relationship. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to react this way, because my dad was very abusive too. He was very mean to my mom. He used to beat her. And my mom just took it. You know, my mom was afraid of my dad. And I chose to be like, okay, you know what? I recognize it. When anything gets me angry, I don't want to go there, you know, because that's what I saw. So therefore I felt that's what I learned, you know. So this is breaking this right now, even for the last, I don't know how many years, to not repeat that pattern.
Okay. Do I have permission to support you?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Okay. I would love to support you that we can shift the story that you're associating to the trauma with your dad. You said this is the worst thing any child could go through, which is we're giving it a value versus it's just an event that happened.
Yes.
So what is the opposite of this is the fact that your father was fighting for you, looking for you, needed to be with you so badly that he was willing to take you from your grandparents.
Because there was money involved.
Hold on.
Yeah.
But hold on. That's what you said. Remember, you didn't talk to them. So we're here to shift our traumas, right? To shift the story that has us in the pain.
Yes.
So what's a new story that you can give to your father that can be empowering now to you in that situation?
That I love him. I love him very much. And I actually have connected with him. And we've talked about this already. I've had a little prayer seance, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And I've actually talked to him.
So because I'm kind of getting like, I have my mediumship
yes,
too.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking those things, I heard the fear.
Oh, okay, right.
So
yeah. Because I went to relive
the
it.
story, the story that I would love to support you with.
Yeah.
That could literally shift that trauma into at least a next level of healing is, close your eyes, is my father loved me so much.
My father loved me so much.
He couldn't be without me.
He couldn't be without me.
And he went to every depth he could to fight for me, even if that meant taking me away from the people that had me.
Okay.
It's because he loved me. I'm
We're shifting
so
the story.
fucking loved. Come on, I have people right now.
I'm
dads
very
don't call-
fucking loved. Oh,
their
yeah.
dogs, their dads don't call them.
Yeah, that's
Their
true.
dads aren't there.
Yeah.
Their dad won't even return the text.
Yeah.
Like this situation, I'm thinking, shit.
Oh, yeah,
I wish
that's
my
true.
dad ever did that for me.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Uh-huh.
I heard your trauma. This is the worst thing somebody could go through, and I was thinking, worse. I wish my dad would have fucking done that for me.
No, but I knew his because I have to testify against him.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that we're shifting
Okay,
just
they're shifting
that
it.
story.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So that you don't no longer
don't
have to
that-
give it
that-
a traumatic moment.
Right.
It wasn't the scariest moment of your life.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment that a father fought for his daughter.
Gotcha. Okay.
Whatever other things happen,
right.
just give it that connotation.
Okay,
That
yeah.
you had a father that a lot of girls didn't have that fought.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, too, like somebody took my kid away, I'd want to kidnap them too.
Yeah.
You know, and then you were so little, so maybe there's a lot of things you maybe didn't understand at the time.
Right. Yeah. Like
So just shifting it to so that you can now be free of the like, oh, it was most traumatic versus, you know what? My dad fought for me. My dad wanted me.
Yeah.
My dad loved me. I'm so valued and cared for that he was willing to go to jail to lose his freedom to make sure that I'm near him. Like everyone gets to put a story behind their
it.
event.
Yeah.
So what we do when we are healing those wounds, there's a limiting belief. There is a story that we give an event, and we get to shift that story at any time.
Yeah.
And in any way, if you could make that story into a story of life and empowerment, like that's where we are creators of our life, creators of the stories of our past and the traumas. And to me, I just was like, whoa, I can give her like a really beautiful story to that.
Right.
It could be shifted.
Yeah.
And that's what I was seeing. Like, wow. Like, and I think that would be a supportive way for you to look at it,
Oh yeah, definitely.
you know, and own it.
Yeah.
And versus making him the bad person.
Yeah.
Because whatever facts are, the facts are the facts.
Yes, exactly.
But
Yeah.
we're here though
We're here to like shift
to
that.
shift it so that we no longer have to be
Right.
speaking of like the limited
Yeah.
part. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so now like even though like I relive it, I'm more in this because like I said, I communicate with him now, and I love my dad. I do. I love my dad, regardless of whatever he has. I always tell him like, I forgive you for everything that you've done. It's okay, you know. And he's always there with me. He is. He's one of my angels. He is. Yeah, and I always thank him all the time for just being there right next to me.
Right.
So he, even though like it was a traumatic experience, I'm still going to give him a different story, but I also did some healing with that as well. Right. So to get me in the space now where I still love my dad unconditionally. I don't hate him at all whatsoever. Right. Before I did hate him. I did. I hated him like maybe about 3 years ago, from 3 years prior to that.
Forever.
And forever, yeah. I hated him. Now I don't come from that space anymore.
Right.
No, I do. I love both of my parents, even though they're not with me, but they're still with me here. Yeah.
Sending love, sending love.
Yeah.
Love. Okay. What time is it, mijo?
It is 9:45. We're an hour and 25 in.
Oh,
okay.
Dang.
That was fast, huh?
Okay,
That was
guys.
quick.
I knew this was going to be
That was
long.
quick.
Yeah.
You didn't really feel
Okay, so we were talking about
Healing your triggers.
triggers.
healing your emotional triggers.
Yeah.
So we definitely went into the work tonight.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
She walked me through a process. I walked her through a process.
Yeah.
So that's what healing trauma looks like,
Yes.
where we get to look at a situation and just view it from a different point of view and give it a different context of, you know what? My parents did the best that they knew how to do with what they were given.
Yeah.
Like they were only given certain tools. You can't tell an architect, well, here is a DJ system, go build a house.
Yeah.
That's not the right tool.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of our parents generational above us, and I mean, I don't know about any other nationality, especially like Latins, Latinos, Mexicans. Like we come from some old school, like the man,
there's
the
some
man,
other
the
ones too,
woman,
like
the
Middle
women.
Eastern,
There's
Indian.
So much old school thinking that
Old school.
you know, like the father can't show their sons that they love them.
Yeah.
You're a man, suck it up. There's so much generational trauma. And we, today, in this lifetime, we get to be the ones to decide, I'm not going to have my children go through what I went through. So I'm going to take a stand for transformation. I'm going to be the one that breaks the generational trauma. And again, it stems with the triggers. So look at your triggers, you guys, and what commitment are you making to yourself, to your family, to your city, to your environment, and to world transformation. And I love you, sister.
Real quick. Hi, Jackie Martinez.
Hi,
Jackie.
Jackie Martinez.
Jackie, your friend. Isn't that Jackie?
No, Garcia. I think her last name.
Oh, she's been talking to you like the whole time, like she knew you.
Oh, maybe that's her maiden name.
Maybe.
I think
Yeah,
Garcia
sending
is her
hugs.
husband's names. I don't know. But hi, Jackie. If you're my Jackie, hi, Jackie. And if you're not, still hi, Jackie.
This one says, Jasmine right here says, release those neurotransmitters.
We're releasing it,
And
baby.
even though like
releasing
we're
it.
healers and we're, you know, you have your
You
sacred class and I'm a Reiki, we still, we're the level we're at, we still go through this. You know, so people have to
always
understand, like, it doesn't stop, okay? Like,
doesn't,
this is
yeah.
extremely normal. Because some people will think like, oh, well, a healer should be, you know, they should be done with their work. No,
Oh, yeah.
no. We still all do, you know? So this is completely normal.
This is how I look at that. Remember, comic books over here is I look at it as like a black Pandora's box. So when you tell spirit, God, whatever you believe in, higher power, I'm ready to open Pandora's box. Like, be prepared. They're going to open it. But what happens is when they open it, they're only going to let a few traumas fly out and then they're going to close it. I know the Bible has this verse, which I think it's a great verse, whether you're religious or not. It says, God will never give you more than you can handle.
Yes.
The universe, spirits,
Spirit, whatever you
your
believe in.
body, the quantum physics around you is only going to give you a few things at a time out of your Pandora's box. that they think at the moment you are spiritually elevated enough to transmute it. They're not going to give me something from the bottom of the freaking Pandora's box that shit would probably make me commit suicide. They're going to give you by levels. Open the box a little bit, close it, open the box. But every time you open the box, guess what? What was once stuffed is now making space. And now there's light. There's light in that empty space now. And now there's all this blackness. So every time you're working on something, you're putting more light into your life, into your heart, into your soul. So that's what we talk about. We get to create, and we're the creators of our life. And you have to really truly remember, like we have a level where, maybe we have a quarter light compared to people. But there's so much more that we're still evolving.
Yes.
And that's why people hire us, because we're doing the work. We're embodying what we're preaching. We're doing this on a daily basis. If you're watching our social media, or if you know us personally, you know we hold ourselves to a higher standard of living. And we're about it. Like, we don't talk about nothing. We literally do it. We live it. And then those who are our soulmate clients are already driven to us because God's already called them in, that they're like, start. I see what you're doing.
Yes.
I love it. I want to glow like you. Deanne, I love what you're doing. I want to glow like you. We all have soulmate clients that are already lined up by God.
Oh, yeah.
Up, until infinitum. And our only job is to live in it. And to match in alignment with what we're preaching.
Yes.
And those people just come drawn to us.
Yes.
Yep. So, so you guys can go to my Instagram, go to the link, my Sacred Mastermind, or even down below in the caption, deannemunoz.com to get information on my class and to get Reiki healing and all her goodies over here.
Yeah.
How are they going to get a hold of
My
you?
Instagram, Playmate DJ Starlet.
Okay, so that's going to be down below in the description as well. We're going to have a description here. And at the bottom, we're going to have her links and my links. Sign up for everything, you guys. I literally I love everything.
Yeah.
I've done everything in every modality other than ayahuasca. So that's next on my list. Because there's no better feeling than freedom. Like freedom of the madness of the head. And being able to glow.
Yes.
Definitely. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Yes, no,
and your
definitely,
life to
sister.
show
I
up
love
and be
this. This
here.
is one of my favorite topics to talk about. One of the millions that I talk about all the time. And I love that I get to share my knowledge, give my energy, my vulnerability, my openness, my heart, everything. And I love you. I love everybody in this space. I love everybody who shared this space with us today. I'm sending everybody lots of love, healing light. We live in a very crazy world, and we as individuals just have to fight through it and do the healing work to make us better.
Right. Oh, okay. So also, everybody remember, everyone go onto her Instagram, DM her or flood her comments and tell them that, hey, I love you.
Yes.
Okay, because remember that was her little thing tonight? That's probably my friend. No, that's my friend. Have him come in.
That's my friend.
Well, duh, tatted. Who do you think they're with? So everybody go into her social media, flood her timeline, like anything that's going to support your friends. And we all just want to make you feel so loved from like every age you've ever been at. I love you. I told you I'll be your sister forever. You're never alone. And in the next lifetime, I'm going to find you. And I'm going to love you.
I'm going to haunt you even when I die.
Yes. I love you.
I love you too.
So give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below. We are more than happy to go through all the comments and do some one-on-one coaching. If this video made anything about it just really touched your heart, pass it forward.
Yes.
Stand for real transformation. Make a difference in somebody's life.
Yes.
Press share.